The first beam me up, Scotty, was Jesus after he died on the cross. They were locked in a room. He showed up. The Bible said he walked, deparacalized, and walked through a wall. It means that while you locked up, Paul and Silas, God can show up right where you are. You might keep man out, but you can't keep God out. I don't know about you, but sometimes we've got to call on a higher power. We've got to go to a higher level because we need God to show up in a place that man cannot help us. So the challenge sometimes is that we don't trust that God's law is a higher law. So what we try to do is make God's law fit our law. So we go around making laws that God didn't say. I'm almost done. 10 a.m. We'll get everything 7 a.m. God, because we got 40 pages here. That's why the Pope could say, you get a word from the Lord. And the Lord want him to change the 10 Commandments. I can't speak for the Pope. I don't know what happened between him and the Lord, but until the Lord said that to me, don't bother with God's law. Until God delivers that to more than just you. Don't take it upon yourself to change what God has put in place. That no matter how much you sit around and you decide that God's law is archaic, that the spiritual laws don't mean anything. It doesn't mean that if you can go to your Supreme Court and make things seem right, that it will make it right. It's still against God's law, and it still will be cursed. That's how God's law works. So that brings me back to our chapter in Malachi. The final book before we cross into the New Testament. Malachi is the epitome, it's the closing of the Old Testament. If you can believe that God does everything well, and there's not a tittle or a comma or a full stop out of place in this book, you must trust that Malachi has been positioned to transition us to the New Testament. That someone didn't just wake up and throw the books together and say, oh, okay, Malachi. Malachi will be right. You must trust that this is a transitional book. That something that is being said in this book is going to cross us into the New Testament for the first time. So in Malachi, we have an insight for the day. That God uses an Old Testament prophet to reveal some spiritual laws which change not. That he wanted to reveal something before we cross into the New Testament that you're going to need for 2015. So this morning, Malachi brings into focus God's law on finances. God's law on tithing and offering. Many of us have heard about the law of tithing, but many of us don't abide by it. We know that God requires 10%. Out of every dollar, 10 cents. Out of every $10, $1 belongs to the Lord. But many of us refuse to cooperate with God's spiritual law. So we decide to break it willfully. We say to ourselves, I'm not doing that. Or better yet, I don't feel like doing that. And so, whenever you break the law, God has set a penalty for those who break the law. Oh, that's just how the 7 a.m. was. And so for my conversation with you, I want to use an acronym for a word called money. M-O-N-E-Y. So each of my points, my 5 points, I will deal with each letter of the word called money. And so my first point is that as you think about God's spiritual law as it relates to our finances, that what should come to mind is that God's mercy continues. So the M in that acronym money is mercy. When you think about money, when you look at your money, I want the first thing to come to your mind is God has been merciful to me. Malachi 3:6 says, "For I am the Lord, I do not change. Therefore you are not consumed, O ye sons of Jacob." God says, I do not change. He's not moody. He's not sometime. He's not giving the temper tantrums. He doesn't do it for one set and don't do it to another. He's not fickle. In Hebrews 13:8, he said, I'm the same God yesterday, today, and forevermore. And so therefore, God's love will not cease towards you. His mercy continues from generation to generation. That's good news. So that means that there's no generation of Bahamians that's not loved by God. That God loves every generation of the Bahamas the same. So when we look at our money, we should look at God's consistency. That he's been merciful to us one more time. You know, I've told you this time and time again in many different ways. I talked about a boss that I had. And he would never walk over coins. You know, people would just throw pennies and 5-cent pieces out their pocket as if it's not important. So whenever he was walking somewhere and he came across a penny, he would stop. And he would pick it up and he would pause for a second, close his eyes, and he would put it in his pocket. And so, you know, being Bahamian, used to throwing away pennies, I said to him, what's a penny? Why did you stop to pick up the penny? And why do you close your eyes? So my boss told me, he said that I am cognizant that God supplies all of my needs. And because somebody had the audacity to throw away God's money, that somebody was unconcerned about being a steward over even the penny, I want to pick it up and ask forgiveness. That I want to pick it up and say, God, you're still my supply. You're still my all in all. And so when I put it in my pocket, I am cognizant that I only need 99 more to make $1. That sometimes we've got to realize to give thanks for what we already have. That some of the challenges sometimes we are looking for more when we should celebrate the one that God has supplied for us. We can get careless with little that God wants to give us much more, but we won't show celebration of what we got. I can tell you, I tell people all the time, if we were to celebrate what we had, we'd have church every Sunday. If you weren't concerned about what you're doing, listen to Adam and Eve in the garden. They were concerned about one tree. They had 99.999. But one tree, God said was off limits. They had to have it. That sometimes we can forget how blessed we are, complaining about what we don't have. Sometimes we can talk about my house needs a paint, but you got a house. So you need to give God praise. Sometimes we can complain about the car that we drive. You need a new car, but you got a car. So you should give God praise. That sometimes we can lose focus on how merciful God has already been to us. So if you had payday today and your boss paid you in cash, you put that money in your hand, you should give God thanks. Because I don't know about you, but every time I look at my money and I look at my bills, I got more bills than I have myself. Like I'm in the right church. Every now and again, when we come to the end of the year, First Lady and I, we sit down and we try to put on a budget for the new year. And something miraculously happens in our house. I don't know if it happens in your house, but I look at what came in. And then I look at what we were able to do. And it never adds up. I'm pretty good with the computer. I thank God for software. All you got to do is put in the numbers. And they calculate what the end should be. And the computer is pretty smart. I think I'm pretty good in maths. But every time I look at the numbers, I spend more than I take in. And I don't wonder where that money came from. Someone say God will make it stretch. That when I look over what God does with my little, what God does with the little that I put in his hand, it amazes me. And sometimes I look at it and I say, wow, I had something to praise him for early in the year. But it took me looking at the numbers to appreciate what God had already done for you. That when we get our paycheck, when we get our funds, we should just thank God for being the same. Thank God for being consistent. Thank God for being a provider. So the first point is, we must celebrate that God's mercies continue. Second point that owing money is, we must realize that there only could be one God. One God. Some of you looking at me and said, well, we know that, Pastor. You might as well go on to the third point, but let me stay here just a little while longer and I'll be gone. I want to suggest to you that money is more than just physical. It can reach to a point that it supersedes natural laws, and if we're not careful, it can reach into the supernatural area. Let me see if I can make this clear. That Jesus actually described money as rivaling him for his deity. That it was competing for his spiritual seat. Matthew 6:24 says, no one can serve two masters. Either he will hate one and love the other, or he will devote the one and despise the other. Listen to what it says, and I'm reading from the NIV. You cannot serve God and money. That's just how 7 a.m. was. You cannot worship two gods at one time. Either you love one, some of us really love money. I'm here to report, you do some things for money, and you'll end up hating the other. You'll adore one, you'll move heaven and earth to do one, but yet you wouldn't give God that same adoration. So when we look at our money, it should tell us that we should not make money our master. Listen to Malachi 3:7. Yet from the days of your fathers you've gone away from my ordinance and have not kept them. Return to me, and I will return to you, says the Lord of hosts. But you said, in which way shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet you brought me. But you say, in what way have you robbed me? In tithes and in offering. Putting it simply, the way you handle your money tells me who's in charge. It won't be much longer. The people of Malachi's day determined that from generation to generation they would rob God. That they would not make God number one in their life. Sound just like us today. 1 Timothy 6:10 says, the love of money, in the NIV, is the root of all kinds of evil. I like that sound, Bahamian. See, the love of money is the roots of all kinds of evil. Notice, it doesn't say money is evil. The Bible also says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. And also he said, because I am a jealous God. That we've made money our love. That we no longer are in love with God, but we love our paycheck. It's all right. So it's not money that's producing the evil, it's our focus with money that's producing the evil. I've really never met anybody, and I hope the Lord allow me to live long enough. I've never met anybody who said, I don't need no more money. Just haven't met them. The people I've met seemingly are always striving for more. Always striving to do more. They want more. They want greater wealth. But don't let wealth separate you from God. Don't let let your pursuit of money, I can't tell you as pastor that people with their well-meaning self seemingly put everything above their God.